I've made you all co-hosts because I've set it up so that the participants cannot unmute themselves. But as co-hosts, you all can mute yourselves and unmute yourselves. But that also means you are allowed to share your screens. So I would ask that you don't do that in this case so that I can share mine with the attachments. So anyway, just wanted to point that out for everybody at the start here. So Kevin, I think we have everybody that we're expecting. So, and we have the applicant with us tonight as well, Matt Parisi, and Dennis Hendy is an adjacent property owner. So we're here ready for whenever you are. And you're muted, Kevin.
Got it. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:32. Looks like we've got one substantive item on the agenda, then some procedural stuff. First order of business is changes to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Move on to item number 3, which is public comment. Public comment is a required feature of every open meeting in Vermont. We typically take public comment on general matters of concern to the DRB, but not related to the applications we're going to hear tonight, because we're going to get to those a little later. Anybody have public comment? Hearing no public comment, we will move on to approving the previous meeting minutes, which are attached in the materials uploaded to the City of Winooski website. Anyone have any comments or want to make a motion to approve those minutes? And if you're going to make a motion, you want to unmute yourself to do that.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, motion by Matt. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Doug. All in favor, say aye, or kind of like raise your hand. All opposed?
Aye.
All abstaining? Felt like that.
I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
All right, felt like that motion carried. So the minutes of the last meeting are approved. So welcome to the public hearing for 206 West Canal Street conditional use request. So just by way of background, I understand we have an applicant here and an adjacent property owner here. We'll give you a little basic spiel about what the DRB is. We are the Winooski DRB. We are a quasi-judicial body that hears requests to develop land within the zoning code of the City of Winooski. Some things are automatically approved. Some things are automatically rejected. Most of the stuff in between comes to us, and that's what we're here to do today, to hear a request for a conditional use permit relating to 206 West Canal Street. And so we've got some documents that I understand that Eric is going to put up for the applicant, and applicant, whenever you're ready, take it away.
So yeah, before Matt jumps on here, I'm gonna share my screen so that you can all see what's going on. I'll just do a quick setting of the table here. So the application tonight is for a conditional use. It's for a detached cottage to be placed on an existing property at 206 West Canal Street. The picture here is an aerial shot. The area highlighted in red is the lot. You can tell it's a very narrow lot. So it's about 50 feet wide, but it's about 400 feet long. So it's a very deep lot as well that slopes off towards the river in the back. So the development is going to be focused towards the front of the lot out near the street. So there's a lot of land there. It's just not, you don't really get to see all of it at once. So that's kind of the general overview. Like I said, it's for a conditional use. The property already has a duplex on it. So this would be a detached cottage. It would be the third unit, which the zoning does allow for a maximum of 3 total dwelling units in this zoning district. And with that, Matt, I will unmute you, or request to unmute you, and then let you take it from there.
All right, thanks, Eric. Yeah, so I don't know if you want to go from like one page to another, how you want to do that, but so obviously you can see the parcel here. Do you want to show them kind of like the initial site, the existing site plan, the existing conditions? Yeah, that'd be great. So you can see the existing conditions there. And the entire development is going to essentially be focused in this viewable area. Anyways, in the existing conditions, we have the existing duplex, a paved driveway, gravel kind of, if you're looking at this directly, on the right side or the east side. And then on the west side, there's a concrete pad, which I believe was an old garage 20, 30 years ago. So anyways, that's kind of the existing conditions. These plans were drawn up by Catamount. Jeff Oleski, he actually is the one that did all of the, I guess when they redesigned and rebuilt West Canal Street, he said about 10 years ago, before my time, obviously. He had most of this stuff in his, essentially in his CAD files. And then I was able to look up the frontage on it. So in any case, what we're proposing is to add a third unit, a detached cottage. You can see it, it's shaded in black here. I don't know if you can zoom in or not. Yep. Yeah. So if he scrolls down, you can kind of see the third unit. It's going to have a footprint of 28 feet by 33 feet. It's about 6 feet on the west side, the east side setback. And then about, well, it's more than 6 feet. I don't remember exactly how many it is, but it's more than 6 feet on the west side setback. Let's see what else. So we're proposing to essentially get rid of the old paved driveway and replace it obviously with a gravel driveway with 4 parking spots, as you can kind of see there on the west side. Those do encroach a little bit onto the west side setback there. So that's obviously, that's something Eric kind of mentioned earlier. Something else we're going to be getting rid of is the existing deck of the duplex. We're going to get rid of to increase the parking. This cottage, and we'll get to there as we go through, is actually going to be a garage, a 2-car garage. So we'll have a total of 6 parking spots, 2 in the garage, 4 on the side here on the west side. And then there'll be an apartment above it, essentially. So that'll give us 6 total parking spots. That's obviously more than the required number, but I think people always have guests over here and there, although COVID has changed things a little bit, but it allows for 1 extra parking spot, essentially. So you can kind of see the water sewer connections. Not sure if there's any other questions here, and I guess other people can speak up if they have any other questions at any moment here, and let me know before we move on kind of the next page.
I'd actually pause right here and say I forgot to swear you in. So can you just swear or affirm that the testimony you have given and will continue to give is the truth, the complete truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your ability?
Yes. Yep. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, this is my name is Matt Parisi, and this testimony is to the best of my knowledge accurate. So
You're all good.
Thank you.
Matt, you said it was going to be a gravel driveway, but the drawing shows paved.
Correct. So initially, because I've gotten some other developments that I've kind of tried to go through, one on East Spring Street. I initially drew it myself, but it was very rough, obviously. And so when Eric and I were going back and forth trying to make sure we had everything ready for the meeting tonight, he said, "Hey, it'd be really great if you had a professional, do this." And so my guy was able to do it, but we weren't able to make these final corrections kind of on here in time, essentially. So it will be a gravel driveway, though, and that will help. One of the reasons I think Jeff designed it as paved because it's existing as paved, so he just kind of kept it the way it is, but the existing pavement is shot. Obviously, for runoff purposes, gravel is much better in my opinion. So it will be a gravel driveway.
That was my concern about the runoff.
Yeah.
And then my other quick question is, the existing shows a shed. Is that
Yeah.
getting moved further south, or is it going away?
No, it goes away. So that's that's actually a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So if we scroll down just a little bit more, there should be the existing shed. Yep. So there you go. That's essentially the back line to give you kind of a reference. That's the back line of where the new building is going to go, kind of the southeast line there. And right after that, about 5 feet to 10 feet after that is where the grade really drops off. So we, the existing kind of 100 to 150 feet, it's less than 5%. After that, it increases substantially. So we are trying to avoid, obviously, any serious runoff or erosion kind of issues. And that shed has been there, just for reference, where it is for at least 20 or 30 years, and it hasn't had any, hasn't obviously shifted. It's actually still pretty structurally sound, but for the sake of building this, we're going to be getting rid of it. Yeah. So I think if there's not any other questions, we can continue on. So this is also a pretty rough design. The building's going to be what you see here is the actual form is going to be is what this is. But my architect is about 4 weeks out right now from being able to, for example, the siding here is like this stone facade with vertical wood grain. It looks like T111 actually. We're going to obviously use all vinyl. So that's probably the biggest thing you'll see here that's different. We're going to be using vinyl siding on it as opposed to, and it'll be like a double floor design. It'll be very similar to the other places I've built before. It'll be a clay color, very neutral, with probably like a charcoal roof, essentially. So pretty earth tones. So yeah, this is the only other difference here on this is obviously sorry, I should have gone back. The previous view was obviously the garage side. That's the north side. This is obviously the south side. The only difference here too is I'm gonna obviously build the deck out of pressure treated lumber as opposed to this, this pretty overkill. It looks, metal, decking essentially.
What we see visually is very attractive.
Right. No, I understand completely. It's obviously, again, my architect was unable to. They all got backlogged with COVID, and he was unable to get this done in time. But this is the building you see with all the windows and the footprint and kind of the sloped roof, that contemporary sloped roof, is exactly what it's going to have. It's just it's going to be, it's not going to have a stone facade. That's very pricey, obviously. I could go with all T111, which just basically is, although it does have some clapboard siding, but I personally think T111 is not very attractive. I would prefer to have it all one style. I'm open to options here, but from a longevity standpoint, obviously durability, I prefer vinyl. So
I think we understand that your budget is all going to the earth moving to make those mountains in the background.
Yeah, exactly. That's correct. Yeah, I want to be able to have a ski area out the back door there. So.
How much living space is on the first floor there? I thought it was going to be all garage, but I see what looks to be.
Yeah. So that first floor, actually, thank you for mentioning that. That first floor is a garage. In the plans, they have windows in the garage. I probably won't have, those lower windows will probably not be present unless everyone in the DRB really wants them, in which case I will put them. But yeah, they will probably not be there.
So we're just supposed to look at this, and all we're supposed to see is a slanted roofed cube with no guarantee of what the elements on the outside of the building look like.
Well, I would urge the DRB to essentially say, based on what I'm talking about tonight, to say we want it to have, all of the elements that you have described in this DRB meeting. It's gonna have, like I said, I'll put all the windows. The only thing that I was planning on changing was the siding and the 2 windows on the first floor facing south, and then the deck I was planning on building again out of pressure treated lumber. So those 3 things essentially. But the footprint, the slope, the interior, none of that is going to change whatsoever. So that's kind of what I'm. So yeah, this is the east side. We're looking at it, kind of shows you the height. Right side just kind of shows you the western portion there. Probably want to back out a little here. So as you can see here, there's the garage is a 2-car garage. So for 2 parking spots, there's obviously that porch you saw on the first, I think it was the first, on the first picture way back at the beginning. You have an entry area, kind of a mud room. Then there's the stairs going up to the second story. So as you can see here, this is kind of my vision for the second story. Total square footage is just under 1,000 square feet. It's 999 square feet. Obviously, they're going to have vaulted ceilings on the front here, closer to where bedroom 2 / the balcony deck is, because it's a slanted roof, a single pitched roof. And then down near bedroom 1, the ceilings are about 9 feet. So you can kind of see that difference. And I think all of that is.
Do you plan to put a door into bedroom 2?
Yes, that was, thank you.
Only access via the balcony.
Yes.
Through the window.
That's right.
Where do you plan to put the door?
I would put it, I can't really draw it, but I think I would put it kind of right in the middle, most likely. So if you're coming up kind of right in the middle before those doors open, balcony deck area, kind of access right there. Yeah, exactly.
To clarify, Matt, am I live here? Yeah, to clarify, that's 1,000 square feet per floor, but the garage is considered unfinished. The total building is 2,000 square feet.
That's correct. So nothing in the garage will be finished except for that entry area, which is that main. So if you look at, I don't know why, it says main living area is 75 square feet. Upper living area is 924. Obviously, I made some edits here. So the garage will just be, it has to be insulated, obviously, because there's water and sewer pipes that will be running up, but it will not be finished. There will be no drywall or anything like that. It'll be, a pretty simple garage for all intents and purposes. Exterior walls will all be 2x6 construction. Roof framing is truss. I'm not really sure. Is there any other questions? Oh, this is probably a big one. Obviously, the building is going to be sitting on a slab with anywhere from 4 to 5 foot frost walls, depending on how far down they have to go. I'm not sure. Any other questions here?
Do we have a calculation on the impermeable surface on the lot? What percentage?
I believe it is. It's on the existing plan. I saw it, or the new plan.
And we actually have it. Eric and I did it. I did it on my hand-drawn plan.
Eric, do you have it off the top of your head?
I do. Yeah. So the existing.
I want to say it was about 30%.
It was, yeah, that's right. It was about 30%.
It's in that list. It's in that list on the left, Eric, if you zoom in there, I think.
Yeah.
Yep,
Oh,
there it is.
yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, I have 29.8%. The existing duplex is 841 square feet. Porch is 176. The side porch is 90. The new drive is going to be 2,900 square feet. New garage and apartment is going to be 924 square feet, which totals about 4,900. And the lot is 0.38 acres or 16,500 feet, give or take.
Right, any
So I
other
think
questions? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think the maximum is 50% in the RC zoning district.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think.
Any other questions from members of the DRB before we hear from what looks like some adjoiners or neighbors?
I'm just unsure of the setbacks in the, I can't remember the setbacks in this area. Is it
So-
6 feet or 10 feet?
So for the accessory structure, the setbacks are actually 5 feet in this zoning district.
So where it's placed on the diagram is what, about 5 feet from, I mean, is it on
I think
the
it's,
line?
I believe it's 6 feet from the eastern property boundary, and then 250 from the rear property boundary, and plenty from the western property boundary. This dimension, I believe it's 6 feet on this one.
It's the west side is about 19. So the large one.
Anything else from DRB members?
I just wonder whether it's reasonable to expect that the occupant of the detached cottage will want to park their car in the garage all the time.
Well, to begin with, actually, the plan is actually to have my father-in-law and mother-in-law, who are going to be relocating from Western New York State. Hopefully, they have 2 cars. Hopefully, occupy this for at least a year. So I know he will be using it significantly. After that, I think even if only one person were to park in there, so to speak, we have plenty of parking. Based on my limited experience on the street, there's plenty of street parking on West Canal Street. So I think, I mean, I personally, in the wintertime, if I had a garage I was renting and it had an apartment above it, I would want to pull my car into the garage. But I mean, that's a personal preference thing. I can't control what people will necessarily want to do. That will be their designated spot, though. I can tell you that. So that's.
You say, I'm looking at the garage door.
Mhm.
Are you fitting the 2 cars in front to back or side to side?
It is side to side. I think the plan would be to go with actually 2 garage doors there, but there is enough space for 2 cars in that garage.
Okay, I was just, it didn't look like there was enough to get them through the.
I know
opening of
it's
the garage
not the
door,
best.
but, yeah.
It's again definitely not the best scale. I would say.
Okay.
From a dimensional standpoint, though, I know there's plenty of room for both vehicles.
But you're thinking of cutting a wider opening for the.
Yes, exactly. I think if you look at it, you've got probably 4 feet between that kind of entry door and the garage door, and then you've probably got another, 3 feet on the, between the kind of the wall there and the garage door. So I would have it wider, and I would just put a double door in, a standard double door. And I think the renderer that did this, obviously, it's not perfect. But I'm totally willing. My architect is working on it. He's designed the 2 other places I've done, and I'm absolutely willing for it to be a condition that you can see the final plans before an approval or whatnot. As a condition, essentially, just to make sure everyone's on board. But like I said, it's mostly the largest difference you're going to see is the siding. The deck's going to be pressure treated, built out of pressure treated lumber, and no windows in the front on the garage level, unless that's something people want. And I don't mind doing that. It's just in a garage, I don't really see any reason for it. So.
Well, you get some passive heating there. in the winter.
That's true. It is. That is exactly, and that's kind of why I chose this design is from a. It faces south. It also faces the river, so people will kind of get the river view. And it'll be pretty warm in the winter, obviously. Lots of windows, lots of light. So that's kind of why I chose it.
Do you
So
have to
my
clear-
preference would be to encourage that, because I think that has a tendency over time to reduce the consumption of electrical or gas energy. And it has a nice front southerly orientation. So on both floors, you should get a lot of natural.
Yeah. The only thing about it is it will be covered significantly by the deck, so those windows won't get as much as we think. Basically, that's all I have to say about that. Is they're not going to get the full,
Well, it depends on how wide the deck is, obviously.
Oh yeah, the deck's as wide. The deck, I'm planning to keep the dimensions of the deck, and the deck is as wide as the windows are. So.
Arlen, did you have a question?
Yeah. Do you plan to clear trees to get the river view, or do you need that?
Yeah, it's not required. No, we don't have to clear any trees to build the building. I mean, eventually I would like to clean up the lot a little bit. There's a lot of overgrowth, but I also know that there's the, I think it's anywhere 100, 150 feet from kind of any river or lake shore. You can't cut any trees down. So we don't plan on obviously doing any of that. There's a lot. I can't think of the name. Somebody else might know it.
Do you own the property, or you're the builder?
Yeah, so we're buying it actually from a family friend, and our closing is actually on July 3rd. But knowing how past experience, how long these things can all take before everything gets organized, and then trying not to lose out on another building year, the family friend let me apply to do this before we closed on the property.
Matt, I have a question. There's a door on the side of the garage, and in the renderings, it looks like there's a sidewalk going to that. Do you intend to do that?
I would, but I don't. I'm willing to not do it. I think it's going to be really tight to the setback there, obviously. So if the other neighbor who I've spoken to wants to weigh in, I mean, I'm totally fine not doing that. If people would
I just suggest you put that door on the other side, maybe, if you want to do it.
Right. I mean, I don't actually, one way or the other, since there's already a door into the garage and the garage door, and the lot is a tight lot, I would prefer not to do it. But, again, if we can do it if need be.
I am kind of wondering about Doug's question about parking in the garage versus parking in the driveway. And, if you want to wash your car or something like that, you'd park it in front of your garage and whatnot. With this layout, there's no room to park anywhere except the garage, or else you're cutting off, 3 parking spots.
Well, I think that's a valid point. I think the answer here would be we are providing more than the required number of spaces. So if somebody wanted to wash their car, they could use, in theory, that guest spot. How long does it take? An hour at most to wash your car? I think that would be a reasonable way to go about that.
Yeah, that was the first thing. Second question is about snow removal with a reduced setback. Assuming you're going to have this plowed, but with a reduced setback for the parking, it seems like you'll be pushing snow onto the neighboring property.
Yeah, I think we're leaving that southwest portion open to dump the snow. There is room, obviously, on the west side and the east side, but yeah, most of the snow will be going towards the southwest portion there.
Is there a fence between the properties?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was actually speaking with the neighbor. Him and I have had a lot of conversation at 196 West Canal Street, which is on the east side here. And he wants, which I'm fine with doing. And when we clear out some of the trees here, he wants to rebuild the fence there anyways. So I think he plans on applying for that to build a fence there along that border. For what it's worth.
That's on the east side.
That's on the east side, yeah. The one with the really tight boundary, obviously. Tight setback.
All right, anything else from DRB folks? Why don't we move on to hear from other interested parties? I think we had one at the beginning of the hearing, and I saw another person come in just as the applicant was starting his presentation. So Mr. Hendy and Ms. Blaine, whoever wants to, if you want to participate at all, don't have to, no pressure. If you do, I don't know what, Eric, what's the procedure for saying you want to say something? Oh, I see Dennis is.
So yeah, so I know, so the participants can't unmute themselves, but I know Mr. Hendy did want to speak, so I've unmuted him to let him go, and then once he's finished, we can unmute as well if she has any questions.
Sure. So, Mr. Hendy, can you just affirm that everything you'll say is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before you start your presentation?
I do.
Great.
So Matt, that's a nice looking building, and I hope things work out for you. My concern is on what you're calling is the west side of our property line. I have a 6-foot picket fence established from the sidewalk area to probably looks like maybe at the beginning of one of your parking spaces. And I would request or ask for you to continue that 6-foot fence from where it stops now to 1 or 2 sections past the building that you've established, or the cottage or the lot that you're going to be using for the cottage. So I'd like the continuation of the fence from where it stops now to a couple of sections past your cottage, I guess on the south side.
Okay, I'm open to extending it past the parking area and up to the end of the cottage. One of the issues, the reason why the cottage is where it is again, it starts to slope significantly after that. So I can do it, but you're going to have one way or the other. I've just gone down this in another project in Williston. You're going to either have a section showing on the south side, probably 3 or 4 feet if I make it all level, or you're going to have a section on the top showing. So I'm fine with building the fence, extending it. I understand why people want their privacy, especially with the parking the way it is. But I would just ask to extend it basically up to the southern line of the cottage here, just again, because after that, it starts to significantly drop off. So its effectiveness is essentially not so great.
So you're saying you're going to go flush or even to the southern line of the cottage, which is the riverside.
Yes, sir.
And you do not want to go like another section past it.
I can do it. I think it will. It's fine. I can do it. I think it will be irrelevant in terms of it won't. It won't block out whatever you're trying to block out. But I'm happy to do that. It's fine. One more section is one more section.
I would like that.
Okay.
And then the fence that I have there now is a cedar 6-foot picket fence. Is that something you'd match up, or you have some other ideas?
If I'm going to put a fence in, again, I literally just installed about 160 feet of fencing in Williston. I want to go all pressure treated. It's a significant expense. That's going to be well over, it's probably about $3,000 between my guys' labor and myself and materials to just go up to that. And that's a significant investment to me, and I would really rather go pressure treated.
Okay, and it will be 6 foot?
it'll be a 6 foot, you know,
4x4 posts, pressure
that's
treated.
correct. Yeah, but I'm going to use concrete. We usually put them in anywhere from 2 to 3
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah.
So
Okay, and with your, while building it, how do I protect my tenants? Because directly across from your parking area, because of COVID, we have like a mini little playground for several little kids. If you could just happen to glance over there, there's all
Yeah.
kinds. There's
well, what
probably
happens if I
several-
built the fence first?
I guess
that
that would be a lot better.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's based on the Vermont state construction permit anyways, it's going to be difficult to, I close on the property on July 3rd. So I think if we start right around then by the time the state issues the actual construction permit, it will probably all line up. So obviously the city would have to issue this as part of the building permit, but that would be fine with me.
Okay, well, that's my only concern. Other than that, good luck.
Thank you.
Great. So it sounds like we came out of that with a stipulated condition to the permit if we decide to issue one to extend the 6-foot fence as described by Mr. Hendy. Basically what y'all just agreed to. We'll figure out the language, and I'm sure Eric will make sure that it's satisfactory to the two stakeholders that have just kind of worked it out in this public forum, which is great to see. We didn't even need to do anything. Any DRB comments, questions about that? All right, Ms. Blaine, you entered a little bit late, but I hope you were able to hear all of the applicant's presentation. And if you desire to make a comment, let us know what you want to say. And if you would just swear or affirm that everything you're going to say is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I affirm. I have nothing to say.
Great, that was easy.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else on this agenda item for the applicant, Eric, the DRB? Sounding like a no. So,
no,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Eric's memo to the board mentioned something about the encroachment of the setback for the parking.
Yeah, did we figure out if that needs to be a waiver or not, Eric?
We didn't. Like I said, like I mentioned in the memo, it's not quite clear from our regulations if parking is permitted in the side yard setbacks in this district. I know in other districts, for example, in the gateway zoning, we do permit parking to be in the setbacks. Similarly, we permit in this district, we permit the driveway to be in the setback. So it's not clear, but I think it would be worth at least addressing so that there's at least something on record that says we're waiving the encroachment if you choose to do that. It's still, I believe the setback on that side is still 6 feet to the edge of the parking, which would be more than what the accessory structure is required to be anyway. So I don't think it's an unreasonable thing, just again, because it's not clear in the regulations.
The encroachment is on the west side, the primary encroachment?
That's correct.
Yep. So I think what I'm hearing
and
is that it may be consistent with the regs to have the parking the way it is. It may not be, and so it may be a good idea for us, out of an abundance of caution, to conduct the waiver analysis and choose whether or not to waive any encroachment on the setback, if in fact it would be encroachment on the setback.
Correct.
Any other questions, discussion about that piece? And we can talk about that more in deliberative session if we want to.
I just have one not related to the parking, one other question. Do we know what the habitable square footage of the existing dwelling unit is?
Yes, there are two bedrooms. Each one is just under 1,000 square feet, 891, I think 924 on the other. They're under 1,000 square feet. I know that.
Okay.
Can I ask one other question? That relates to the drop off behind the building here that's being proposed. There's a change in elevation from the terrace structure in which everything on West Canal Street is built to the floodplain of the river. Am I correct about that?
Yes, there is. Yep.
So my question is, are there any signs of erosion in that slope at the present time?
In my limited experience, as well as I had Jeff Oleski from Catamount Engineering walk the property, take a look at it, and he's the one that drew up the site plans. He said essentially along the lines of, where you have it, where you're planning to build is fine, but you really don't want to go any more farther south. That's when we have to start running into erosion issues. There's no signs of the hillside eroding, but he doesn't. We don't want to build any farther south. That would increase the load on the hill. So,
so my question is So my question, Matt, is what kinds of precautions are you going to take against erosion and against movement of material downslope during the construction period?
Right. So Jeff actually in those plans, he'd already put that in there because he was worried about that. He says install silt fence downslope of all earth disturbance and maintain until permanent vegetation is established. So there will be a silt fence established there. So during the construction phase, it'll keep anything from, going downhill essentially. And there's also, you can't see it in these diagrams, but probably about 10 to 15 feet after where the structure is going to be built, after that silt fence, there is significant, growth of 3 to 15-year-old trees essentially, and very heavily, forested.
Your plans to clear out vegetation on the site don't involve destabilizing the vegetation on that slope, though?
No, that's correct. The plan is actually really to cut down tree limbs. So I want the trees to actually grow really tall, and then if we can cut down the limbs, then you kind of get your cake and eat it too. But the plans to actually cut the trees down, cut the limbs off the trees is far into the future at this point. I mean, it's like Eric said, it's a almost 400-foot deep property. So that would be kind of the ideal, the idyllic setting if you're sitting on the porch and you can see the river through the trees. But that's just the kind of the dream, so to speak.
You're not envisaging any sort of pathway from the back of the detached cottage down to the lower river terrace?
I'm not envisioning building a new one. There's actually an existing one between the neighbor's property and mine at 196 West Canal Street.
Across property lines, you mean?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, I haven't gone all the way down to the river, but you can follow. There's an old, footpath essentially. Then he has actually a terrace garden. You can kind of see it there halfway through. Yeah, exactly.
That's this right there.
Yeah, so he does have. It's not like there's no gravel. It's not like there's no steps or anything like that. But you could walk down to the river if you wanted to.
But that would be on his property. I'm talking about whether there's anything on your property.
Oh, no, nothing existing. That's correct.
And you don't intend to put something in?
No, I don't. No, I don't intend to build like a walkway down to it. I'm mostly looking to in the future, if it does happen, to just kind of make it so, like right now in the summer, you can barely see the river. So it's great in the winter and the fall and spring, but no, I don't plan on building a walkway.
I have a question for Eric, I think. I see that the existing frontage is 53 feet, and there's a note that this is an existing non-conforming dimension. Is there not a waiver required to develop this cottage on the lot?
No, is the short answer. Since it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot, as long as they can develop within our current requirements, then he can develop. And so the accessory structure only requires 5-foot side setbacks and I think a 10-foot rear setback. So he's under the impervious cover and he's within the setbacks, so he's able to develop the property.
Okay.
Anything else on this application? All right, so if it's okay with everybody else, I'd propose to move. What we typically do is we go through the rest of our agenda and then we have a closed deliberative session, which is closed to the public. We talk about what we heard in the application and we come out with a written decision. That may happen tonight. We have in the past done it on a different night just because we had a lot of things to get through. I don't want to preordain which it's going to be for this application, but that's how I would propose to do it. The rest of our agenda tonight is some. Weird for us. Sorry about that. Say it again. Sorry, I missed the comment. Say it again.
I'm not sure if she was speaking to us.
Okay, sorry. So the rest of our agenda is some kind of administrative stuff for the DRB. Happy to have folks stay as witnesses to the great democratic process, but if you're bored by that, you can move on with your evenings. So thanks for participating in this agenda item, and barring further comment, why don't we move on to amendments to the rules of procedure. Eric, what's this about?
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm going to close a couple of windows here. So this is a amendment to our rules of procedure. As you recall, we previously adopted the rules of procedure back in, I believe it was February. In those rules, there is a line that talks about remote meetings. In that language, it notes that one member of the Development Review Board would be present at a location where the public could gather for a remote meeting. This is actually inconsistent with state statute, where it does not require that a member of the body be present, as long as a staff member is present at that location as well. So this update is basically just amending that language, and I believe, yeah, so it would look like basically what is included here in item C. This would be the only change. Obviously, we didn't envision what's going on in our current situation, that we would all be meeting remotely by executive order of the governor. So now we're doing it that way. So yeah, this is what I'm proposing, is just this one language change, and we can readopt the rules of procedure if you so choose.
I like it. Anybody else? Good, bad, otherwise?
This is Article 6C, right? That we're talking about, the item that's in red?
That is correct, yes. And the language that's proposed here is consistent with the way it's written in statute.
Right, and so what we've had is that both a member and a staff person had to be present, right?
Well, what we've had,
was it just both? A member had to be present.
A member had to be present, right? It's always assumed that the staff would be there as well, but this basically says that only a staff member can serve in that role. It doesn't have to be a board member also.
Could be either or.
Correct.
Seems fine to me.
Sounds reasonable to me.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve this amendment to our rules of procedure.
I so motion it. I make a motion to approve the amendment to the rules of procedure.
Moved by David. Any seconds?
Second.
Second looks like by Harlan. All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? All abstaining? Sounded like the motion carries. Moving on to the next agenda item, reappointment of board members. So Eric, what's this about?
Yep. So thank you very much. This is so annually. Well, I guess a little backstory. The recently, City Council realigned all of the boards and commissions of the city to match with our strategic vision area. Our strategic vision statement. And along with that, they set the reappointments to align with the fiscal year. So July 1 to June 30th. So we subsequently had updated our appointments to be on staggered a 1 year cycle and a 2 year cycle for all of our members. So this is, there's 3 members whose appointments are scheduled to be up at the end of this fiscal year on June 30th. So this is basically an item just to make you all aware of that and to see if you're still interested in retaining your appointment to the Development Review Board. It's not a guarantee. Obviously, these are all political appointments, but at least it will signal interest to be considered by council. So we don't need any official action on this tonight. Or I guess we don't need any official action from the Development Review Board. Just the 3 members, Harlan, Doug, and David, you can just let me know if you're interested or not at some point, and then I'll forward that information along to council.
Okay, we don't have to write a reapplication for positions
Nope.
or anything like that.
Nope, you can just say, yep, I'm interested, or no, thank you, I've served my time, and that's all I know. And you don't even have to tell me tonight, so.
All right, so get in touch with.
Tell you tonight.
What's that?
I said I would like to tell you tonight, and I am interested.
Okay.
I as well would not miss the great spectacle of democracy. I'm interested.
Okay.
And I'm interested. Eric, I'm interested as well.
Okay, great. Well, I will forward that along to council then. Thank you all very much.
Excellent. Glad to have everyone hopefully continuing with the team. Okay. City updates is item 8 on our agenda. What's the update from the city, if any?
I don't actually really have anything specific to update you on tonight. The city is still, I guess, officially open. Well, we're officially closed, but open by appointment only for folks who want to get into review records and things of that nature. So that is still going on. We're still reviewing applications and obviously going through the review process. So
Great.
Nothing specific unless you all have questions for me.
Has there been any new interest by anybody in membership on the board?
Not that I have seen yet, no.
Are we full?
We are, yeah. We are currently full.
And
So
what about July?
Yeah, so I was going to cover that with other business. I just received an application today for a conditional use. Actually, Suzanne Blaine, who's still on with us, it is submitted again for reconsideration, or I guess it's a new application, but it would be a reconsideration of the detached cottage at 9 George Street. So that would be on our agenda for the July meeting, which I believe is July 15th is what we're scheduled for. That doesn't sound right. Now that I say
the 3rd.
It'd be July 16th.
16th, yeah.
So that is what we have tentatively queued up at this point. And tomorrow is the deadline for that July meeting. So right now, that's the only application that's come in at this time.
Great. All right, so we are at a point in the agenda where we adjourn. So if we are going to go into deliberative session tonight, I think the correct way to do it would be to go into deliberative session, kick out all of the members of the public, deliberate, then come back, then adjourn. Eric, does that sound right?
Yeah, that's typically how we do it with city council when we have executive session. So the TV feed cuts and everybody else leaves, and basically they just come out of executive session to adjourn. So we would treat, I think that's a good idea to treat it the same way.
So then the question becomes, is everybody down to discuss the application this evening? Is anybody burnt out, wants to do it some other day? Seeing some thumbs, ready to rock and roll. All right, so I would entertain a motion to enter executive or deliberative session, whichever one we call it. I think Town Meeting TV is going to stop recording for this portion. Anybody want to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
So moved by Matt. Any seconds?
I will second the motion.
Seconded by David. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All abstaining? Motion carries. We are in deliberative / executive session. So if we could no longer be recorded or broadcast.